Interesting Mom Genes, where identical twins explore divergent paths of motherhood born from the same roots. Join us as we navigate this crazy world of parenting, proving that even with identical DNA, our journeys are still unique. Get ready for laughs, insights, and a double dose of maternal mayhem.
Oh, your turn with the introduction. I think you rocked it.
Thank
We're getting
you.
used to that. We're getting used to that.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know. It makes me feel official, which is hilarious.
So fancy. I just feel like
So
the fact that season 2 exists makes me feel official. So that's
very valid.
that's what's amazing to me.
Do you know what else is official?
Oh man, I know what else is official. I feel it every day. I feel it every day. We crossed over this week our 6-month mark in Germany.
Sweet. You're
Isn't
officially
that
6 month
insane?
expat. Is that what they call it? Expatriate? Do you count as
No.
an expat? What is an expat?
We don't count as expats because we still work for the United States.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
Like,
I guess that makes sense.
I
It's like
mean,
military, even though you're
I
not
feel like a
military.
lot of the memes apply to us. Like most of the memes, TikToks accounts apply to us. But usually an expat is like a citizen of the country that has like married somebody else and lives there and works like on their economy. And you know that, and so like it's a little different because like unlike active duty, we don't live on a military base. We aren't like we aren't shopping on the military base a lot. We don't, use military transportation a lot.
What's the one thing you have
We
to buy on the
flew
base?
over here. Vlasic pickles.
Okay, that's pickles. I couldn't remember. I was like, pickles or some form of cracker, but it's like you have to get your daughter American pickles.
Vlasic pickles. We also buy tortilla chips.
Oh, there we go.
On
Yeah, that was
the American base every single
valid.
time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was like, wait, I do know one thing you get.
We're getting into the nitty gritty. Also, fish sticks, because German fish sticks are about. So before we left America, my daughter had developed a taste for fish sticks, and
all small children should.
She's entering into her. I'm not sure I like that because it looks like meat era of toddlerhood. Which they all go through. They all go through. And usually we can get it past her if it's like a ravioli.
I think Rory was Rory was in that phase for 3 years.
She might still be. They might still be.
They might still be. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean,
but seriously. I love it.
I feel like I have weeks where I'm like, I can't eat that. It looks like a meat, But so we're in that. And prior to that, we had become Fish Stick Friday people. And I call it Fish Stick Friday, even if it's Tuesday. It doesn't matter. She doesn't know.
I was about to say, I love a theme. It's Taco Tuesday, even if it's Saturday. I love a good theme.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, sometimes we have Fish Stick Fridays, twice on Saturdays. It's fine. But so we had that. Well, you would think a fish stick is a fish stick is a fish stick. A lot of the German grocery stores have fish sticks in their freezer section. It's amazing. You'd think it'd be great. Those things are not the same. They are not the same.
No, they're
about twice as wide.
Yeah,
and the breading on them is like really, really thick. Yeah,
they're real fish.
The Gordon's Fisherman is like 100% Alaskan pollock or whatever. I trust the Gordon's Fisherman, okay? That's what the commercial tells me to do, and that's what I'm doing. No, I've always bought the fillet ones that are like actually when you break it, it's like a fish fillet. We don't do any like the ground up, which is ironic because I moved to Germany.
The super ground up kind.
Well, that's ironic because when I moved to Germany, like, I moved my child here with like the whole like she's never eaten minced meat chicken nuggets and she doesn't eat the minced meat fish sticks and like it's all fish fillet blah blah blah, and then we move to the land of bratwurst.
Yes, yeah, valid.
Where it's just all processed, just processed. Now it's not processed
grinder and call it good
with stuff in it. It's just ground, but still,
it is pretty
wild.
Funny. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
so you have
We
sent me
diverted.
kind
But
of
you've been there for
like a
6 months.
recap. 6 months. Yeah. And there are a few things that we can't live without in America, like Vlasic pickles. And I am thankful for access to the tiny bit of America that is the army base to get those pickles and
The
to
little tiny
get
state
those tortilla
American
chips.
land.
Oh man,
I
and then
like
there's
to
the
think that.
bigger army bases in Europe that you can go to and it feels like you're actually visiting America. They have Taco Bell there.
Oh, wow. See, I was going to say, my experiences with army bases have always been so funny. I've never been to an embassy, but I've been to an army base. And in my brain, when I read a book about someone visiting an embassy and needing something from them, it looks exactly like a military base commissary. So sometimes
Hmm.
I was just reading a book about somebody who was traveling a lot and was on and off army bases and things like that. But I had the thought that one of these days I'm going to get those things confused. And when you said we don't shop a lot in the commissary, my brain went, oh, but it's the embassy. And so you
Oh,
get your
but it's
pickles
the
from the
embassy.
U.S.
No,
embassy.
the
That's what you
only I haven't been to an embassy yet. However, I do want to go to an embassy because the embassy has trading coins.
do. Ooh.
Um, and so I really want to get a couple of the like coins, like you've been in this embassy trading coins, and you have to pay for a little bit of money for them or whatever, but they're not
Are
much,
you
and I think
allowed
that'd be an
to
amazing.
casually go to a U.S. embassy? Like, are you
Yeah,
just
if you are a
allowed to?
U.S. citizen. I mean, you may
Okay.
have to make an appointment first,
What
but
do you do
you are allowed to
there?
go.
Because I
I
only
don't
ever
know. I've
hear
never been
about
to an
like
embassy.
everyone hiding in embassies when there's like, escaping a bad thing.
The only thing I know for sure is one of my coworkers had a child born here in Germany in a German hospital because
Ooh.
as Department of Defense civilians, we also don't have access to the military hospitals on
Yeah, you don't
base.
go on base for your medical
So
care.
we go to the German hospitals, we go to German doctors, we go to German pediatricians, German dermatologists, all of these things. And so their child was born in a German hospital. And so they had to go to the closest embassy, which is in Frankfurt, Germany, to apply for their child a social security card.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that
useful
makes sense.
paperwork and stuff.
They're probably not as much fun as they are in my head. Like I like the
It's
commissary version of it a lot more. Like a small tiny
probably a
Walmart, a
big
post office inside.
government building with
Yeah.
a gate around it.
That's exciting.
Depends on which country it's in, probably whether or not it's got a big gate or a little gate around it.
Big gate or little gate.
You
That's how you can
know,
tell whether or not you want a vacation there.
it also might depend on, it also might depend on what's happening in the world, whether or not there's a big gate or a little gate.
That's very valid.
Just kind of one of those things. Kind of like that depends on how many people are standing outside my child's daycare when I take her in. Um, it's like it's just like you're like, wait, should I check the news? You guys weren't
Yeah,
here
that's
last week. Just
oh
things
man,
that
this is
weren't a part of my
before
life
we get
6 months ago.
before we get back on track though, I walked into toddler time with my friend and both of our children last week, and there were like 50 extra people that are not ever there. And
Oh
then one of
no.
them yelled out my name.
Oh
And I
no.
turned around and it was all the homeschool moms from the library story time. And they had all decided on Monday to go the next day to toddler time on Tuesday.
Oh,
And
that's
I
when
was
you know
just
you've
like,
been talking it up too much. No.
I haven't been there in a month and a half. We haven't really been going because we've been doing gymnastics. And so like she said my name and my friend turned around and was like,
This is
"Do
your
we
fault.
do we know her?" And like, why? What are I was just like, run.
That's a
My
good friend
first
though. The do we know her is a good
exactly.
friend.
Yeah.
The
But it was just like, do we run screaming back to our cars or do we tough it out? But then again, we also figured out that you can show up any time during toddler time and start your 2 hours. They don't kick you out at noon. So it's like from 10 to noon. But if you can show up at 11:30 and still pay the toddler time price, and then you can stay till 1:30 and everybody else leaves at noon. because it's just for 2 hours.
Oh, I feel like you should
So
not have said that out loud because that policy is going to change as soon as this episode airs. No, ma'am,
hopefully they
you
don't
just
listen.
shot that in the foot.
It's
Wow.
the best.
Well,
I
there's no way
ruined
I
it.
could do it because my child sleeps during the day,
Yeah, that's true.
which that's a
Very
whole
valid.
other thing. But it's fine.
I know. We miss nap time for
Nap
everyone.
times and stuff. It's a whole thing.
Okay, now that
Okay.
we have diverted all the way down a couple of rabbit trails, what
You
what
sent
do I
me
do?
like a whole list
I
of
did.
questions.
What was the question that I wanted the answer to
The
first?
first one is a nice light one. Do you regret the move?
Well,
We're starting
I
off.
guess
I got this
regret.
email and I was like, whoa. Nice
That's why
lighthearted episode today.
to be fair, I have a couple of court reports that have been due, and so I was like, "Oh, I will do something lighthearted between my my report typing stuff and reading like
Like,
psychological assessments and parenting assessments and drug tests and things like that." So I was like going through this huge amount of paperwork and I just leaned over and I was like, "What would I like to discuss about 6 months in Germany?" And then like the first thing that came to mind was like, "Do you have any buyer's remorse?" Like, is it still fun to be in Germany?
um, I would say that, and I've talked to a lot of people who have been here for years and years, and people who have been here for just a few weeks, and so it's a pretty predictable um, tide, like the ocean, that you can
Okay,
predict.
yeah.
Okay, because the first week or so, yes, amazing. European adventure. Try all the things, do all the stuff, complain about the jet lag and the pillows. German pillows are terrible.
While your body
Um,
still thinks it's a vacation.
yeah, it's a vacation. And then it starts to settle in. And you're like, whoa, whoa, okay. We're here. We're doing the things. All right. Awesome. Amazing. Something big will happen. For some people, it's like they lose an ID. For me, it was I broke my foot. For some people, it's like their first, like they move over here for one spouse's job and the other spouse and the kids are like chilling and vibing. And then that spouse gets like sent somewhere on like a work trip. And they're like,
Oh,
holy
yeah.
crap, I'm in another country completely alone.
Yeah.
Like there's
Something has
something that
to,
will
like,
happen that will
reality
be your
check.
reality check for
Yeah.
sure.
And it's not
And
like a check mark, it's a hockey check.
oh yeah, just
Checked into the
straight into
board.
the boards, like boom. Um, and for us, that was me breaking my foot, and that was absolutely miserable. Absolutely no joy, like no joy.
100%.
As far like we're talking about,
Of
obviously
course,
there was
I think
joy
that's
in some
probably fair.
moments,
No, I think it's
but
probably fair to say that any broken bone while you're dealing with a toddler in any situation is horrifying, but then, like, also, like, I've done a
yeah.
couple of surgeries in the last year, and, like, those are not good times, and, like, I can at least, like, get up and walk. Like, you could not walk.
Well, like a couple of Jake's coworkers, he has some really nice coworkers, and like a couple people would ask, like, "How is your wife doing?" And he would be like, "I'm not gonna lie, she wants to go home." And they were like, "Well, so did mine. So did
Yep,
my husband, or
valid.
so did my wife." You get about 3 weeks in, and from 3 weeks to about 2 or 3 months, everybody just wants to go home. Everybody just wants
That's
to go
super
home.
valid.
That's what it is. It feels hard. You're getting your stuff and doing a big move, finding a place to live, figuring out transportation, figuring out a second job if the other spouse that didn't have a job yet. Like you're trying to figure out childcare, you're trying to get a routine, you're trying to figure out which grocery store has the stuff that you
You're
want and
making
what you
me
don't.
feel
Like it's
anxiety
just
just listening to the
you
list.
are and I remember explaining to you and anybody else who asked that I feel like I had more sympathy and will have more sympathy for my daughter moving forward about what overstimulation is
Oh,
because
yeah.
everyone around me just spoke a language I didn't know and everything was like things didn't feel like they were the right colors and
Yep.
my skin didn't feel like it belonged to me. And like it was every day was overstimulating.
I read an incredible little like throwaway Pinterest quote thingy the other day in the middle of something else I was reading. And it said like one of the hardest parts about traveling and moving is that the sun is in a different location than it's supposed to be. And it's like,
Ooh.
that's not 100% true. Like at some point during the day, the sun is still in its same path. And obviously throughout the year, the earth rotates and things like that. But like on a fundamental level, you said like things were like different colors, but it's like literally the light is slanting differently if you're on a different part of the globe. And it's
Oh
like
yeah.
that matters in your brain. Like your brain is more aware of it on a like subconscious level
Even
than you
our
are
clothes
able to like
felt
tangibly.
different
I
because
believe
the
that.
water here is very hard and we didn't have a dryer. And so, like, air dried clothes feel different, and then
I know
hard
how to
water
stop.
leaves a residue on your clothes. So, even our clothes felt stiffer and different. And so, like, if you hadn't washed one of your shirts yet, you're like, I don't know that I want to. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just hold on to it. It'll just smell like America for the next 3 years. You know what I
I
mean?
totally
No,
get that.
thank you.
Do you want me to
Like,
wash your Target clothing that I got you so that it's clean but ready
maybe.
for you in American ways?
Maybe. But it was inconvenient. It was just hard. And it still is on some days. However, the baseline has shifted. The baseline has really shifted. And especially I feel like month to month it shifts in huge ways. And we just had our first visitors who came to stay. And for me, that was a good way to like kind of check the pulse of how things were going
Yeah.
because I thought that they were going to leave and I was going to be like, take me with you, save me. And instead, I found myself like just really, really proud to get to show them around town and excited to introduce
Oh,
them
that's
to new
good.
things and like thinking of like, oh, like when you come back we should do this, or oh, I wish you were going to be here in the summer because we've heard that this is blah 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 blah, like. And so, and then
How we
when
used
they
to know.
left we were exhausted. It was really hard on my daughter, and so those were negatives, but we got kind of back into the rhythm, the swing of things,
Yeah.
and we've been in a good place. And so it was just kind of one
Yeah,
of those
that's
things
how
where
we
like
used to
that
know
for
if
me tells me that
college.
baseline has shifted.
I'm so sorry.
You
The
need to
audio
what?
messed up. I'm not sure if it did. But that's how we used to tell if college students were going to make it their first semester was after the first like visit home, because you could tell like there were people who were excited to be back and kind of missed their homes, and then there were people who were to the point of distraction, not able to focus and get back into the groove of things. And often those were the people
Yeah.
who would end up moving closer back to home. And I think it was like I think that's a great way to check the pulse. So you'd say you're kind of at a good level, I guess,
Yeah.
because you've
I
got
mean, we
you're
we have
only a
done
sixth
more
of
and
the way
more.
there.
Well,
Half a year, three
yeah, you're
years,
right.
sixth
You're
of the way
right. A
there.
sixth of the way there. Yeah.
I'm
And so
doing
it's like
math,
one of those
man.
things, but at the same time, this week was also the first day of meteorological spring. And so that's one German winter
What?
down, two more to
Pause.
go. Like boom.
What
You
is
what?
meteorological spring? What is meteorological
It's just
spring?
like it's like actual scientific start of spring. It's not Groundhog Day. It's like the actual science behind when spring starts.
Okay, we have very different viewpoints of the world. I didn't even know that was. I was sitting here thinking, like, is that like spring equinox or something? Like, when is this? I know, I know that there's like solstice and equinoxes, and when are those things? Okay. Anyways, so
That's so
we'll
funny.
check it as, do you regret the move? No, and then
No,
we'll
I
move
don't. And
into.
I am excited about things moving forward. Like my daughter starting the German kindergarten that she's going to be starting soon. And like today we had our first lesson with the German tutor that we have hired. um,
I need to know
who
everything.
seems really, really
I
cool. She
am excited.
herself is an American. She moved to Germany. She's a true expat. She's not in any way related to the United States government. Um, but she's a true expat, moved to Germany, and is married to a German. And so she like learned German as an adult. And so to
Which
me,
I
I'm
think is
like,
important.
yes,
Yeah.
get the tutor that actually knows what the heck you're going through.
Yeah.
Um,
Not somebody
is a
who's
mother
fluent 6
herself,
years old.
like,
Yeah.
yes, please. So that went really, really well. But those are the kinds of things where I'm like, I feel like if we can just get our feet underneath us or get, maybe half a foot underneath us at one time, then
Just one.
moving forward, there is good to be gleaned from this experience. I also can never say that we would regret this move, because my husband is a tragic
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, that's
And
true.
he
Yeah.
would have, if we had not moved when we had the opportunity, he would have literally thought about it 14 times a day until like he passes at the age of 105, peacefully holding my hand 10 minutes after I pass. Like the entirety of his life he would have thought about this. And so
So funny you said that.
what? What? Clearly I'm
Sorry.
going first, but not for a very long time.
I love that.
Don't
Oh,
laugh
so fair.
about it.
He is a tragic what-ifer, and I can completely, empathize with that because mine is as well. And,
Yeah, I mean,
they
like,
they really
you
you gotta
wanna
go through
marry
the
a
phase.
go-getter. Like, I would give my daughter the advice of, like, when you start dating, sweetheart, you wanna date the guy with dreams, you wanna date the guy who's got goals in life, but also if you date the guy that's got goals in life, you're gonna end up, like,
In
somewhere
Germany.
in a different country with his goals.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly my
But
life.
anyway, so,
Um,
like, we would never say that we regretted it because now, would we do it again at this point? Like, if we move back and then in 6 years get another opportunity to come straight back here? Absolutely not. I don't think so. No. I may eat my words, and I'll happily eat my words if that comes to it, but a lot of stuff is gonna have to happen for me to want to extend my time here, and a lot of stuff would have to happen for me to do it again.
and I do think that that helps, and I did I did kinda have that caveat to the question that I hadn't even mentioned yet, which is, you know, does having a light at the end of the tunnel help? And I think that is almost always true unless you are, you know, there are
Living
certain
your best
people that
life.
I was about to say, there are certain people that it would cause a lot of stress for to have kind
Yeah.
of a limited amount of time, but also 3 years
Well,
is not
I
the
thought
illusion. It's not the illusion of limited time. Like, you have 3 years. A lot can happen. If you guys were only there for 3 months, you
it's a
might be
third
frustrated.
of the time that we've been married. We're coming up on our 9-year wedding anniversary. And
Exactly. Yeah.
by the time we leave here, a quarter of our marriage will have been in Germany.
Yeah.
So it's
That
like,
makes sense.
that's really wild to think about. For me, the light at the end of the tunnel is a stress relief because I a lot of my anxiety centers around making the right choice for my child. Like a lot of just my daily anxiety, like what to eat for
Okay.
dinner. I don't know. Is that going to be what she needs? Like, like, should we leave now or in 10 minutes? I don't know. What if she starts playing and then I have to interrupt her? Like, I just have a lot of anxiety regarding decisions around her.
That's
And so
fair.
for
I would say that
me,
that's a pretty
like,
normalized
this
experience.
timing works out really, really nicely because we do not have to make any decisions regarding her schooling here.
And that's nice. That's a very nice.
So for us making a decision about where we move to after this, making a decision about which job to take after this, making a decision about her school, private versus public, small school versus not small schools, start at 5, start at 6, start at 7, all of those decisions doesn't matter. You got to get through Germany first. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
just
I like
make
that.
the best decision here for what we need. And that's part of why she's starting at the German kindergarten, because if we like it, best case scenario, she is in that same classroom with those same 3 teachers and those children for the entire time we live here. Two and a
Which is
half years with the same teacher. And you cannot ask for better stability for a child her age. So, it's like, and we're kind of swinging for the fences there. Nobody knows for sure. I mean, that would be a blessing from above if that ended up being the perfect situation like that. But it's a good place to start, like swing for the fences. Yeah.
yeah, I
So,
like it.
you know,
It's really
the
valid.
other lighthearted question you asked me is for a list of my favorite foods. I just like the order that you put your priorities in. Like, do you
I know,
regret the
right?
move?
Do you
Also,
regret it? And
please
also
list your
tell me about
favorite
the food.
foods.
And I'm very serious about this question. I would like to know what your favorite foods are in Germany. And now here's where I'm going to be very rude and I'm going to put boundaries around it. I do not want to hear about France or Italy or any of the other places you visited like Switzerland. I'm talking about where you live, the places you frequent, and like
Okay.
your groceries. So
First of all,
no, none of this
places
like
we frequent. Let's put that asterisk down at the bottom. My husband and I are not eater outers. Like, we're not like, let's go to restaurant people. We don't enjoy the takeout situation. Plus, there's not a lot of takeout situations in Germany. You have to go in and sit, and it's a leisurely experience, and that's super
they don't have a
fun
lot
with
of
a 2-year-old.
Uber Eats there.
We have one delivery app. They do a great job, and we're super glad to have them. Um, but okay, favorite foods. I do have a favorite German restaurant. I will take
Okay.
it. I will take everyone who comes to see me in Germany to this restaurant until this restaurant closes or I go back to America. This is my favorite German restaurant, and at this point, I think I'd rather just dig my heels in and commit to being a regular at this place than try to find another one. Like, I think I've just
100%.
found it. They're
What is
consistent. They're delicious. They've got a wide thing. It's just like a local little placey place. I can walk to it from my house. I haven't yet because it's been winter. But
and winter
apparently they
in
have a
Germany is
decent
more winter.
playground, which is a very, very common thing here in Germany for restaurants to have a Spielplatz, which is a playground. So if you sit like outside at a table, your children can play at the playground while they wait on their food, or if they finish their food. It's
So
genius. It's brilliant.
what came
I'm
first? The Germans and their playgrounds at restaurants or McDonald's play places? Which came first?
I don't know. And I don't see indoor play places much at all.
Oh, hang on.
So I think McDonald's has a
I
corner
think I may
market
have
on the
missed.
indoor play place. But
Hang
the
on.
outdoor play place,
We've got some audio
very
issues.
German.
Just a second. Okay. Post technical issues. We're bringing you back. So,
Okay.
we are talking about. I'm so sorry about that. I have no idea what happened, but we'll see if we can edit it out.
We were
Favorite
talking about my
restaurant.
favorite restaurant.
Like,
Absolutely.
yes. Yes.
I
So
will
go
take
back there.
everyone to this restaurant vibes.
And what kind of
I
food do
am
they serve?
obsessed.
Because I didn't
German.
understand that part.
German restaurant.
Okay, so it's like a
So
local
they
diner, but German
serve,
diner.
yeah, I don't know that diner is a word. Donor is a word we have around here.
What's donut?
Donor is like their version of a euro. Um,
Oh, cool.
it's very, very popular. Nice little wrap situation. One of the only ways you can get vegetables consistently if you eat out. It's a whole thing.
Oh, you meant euro
Um,
like food euro. I heard euro like money euro. Wow, that's got to be very confusing in
not in my
Europe.
head. I've never once thought about the fact that those words are the same.
Yeah, I thought that's so weird. They pay with something wrapped up, and
Well,
then you were like, "Oh, you're talking about a sandwich."
I'm probably pronouncing the sandwich wrong now that we think about it. After going to my
No.
German tutor today, I learned that a word I say all the time I am pronouncing wrong. So I'm just trying to talk faster from now on, so my pronunciation doesn't suck as bad.
That's
But so
that's how I talk
this
Spanish.
place is so good, and it's consistently good, and it's on the delivery app. It's within walking distance, and they have all the traditional German fare, like some strange dumplings and stuff. But then they also have pretzel crusted schnitzel with
Oh,
mushroom
okay,
cream
sign me up.
sauce, and a couple things about
Ugh,
Europe. Okay, if you've never been to Europe, which people listening to this may not have been to Europe, but if you've never
me.
been to Europe, they do tomatoes and mushrooms better. I don't know what America's doing to our tomatoes and mushrooms, but they don't taste the same. Like a
They don't
tomato
look the
is not a
same either.
tomato. Tomato, no. If tomatoes are British ones and tomatoes are American ones, the tomatoes are better. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah,
the same
that's
thing. It's not the vibes. Something about the acid, something about the dirt. I don't know. But
valid. The dirt is
mushrooms, I'm not a mushroom eating person.
oh,
I'm not a mushroom connoisseur. I like portobello mushrooms in some recipes. And I like mushrooms on supreme pizza. I don't like mushrooms on pizza. I like mushrooms on supreme pizza. Like with the other flavors, okay?
In other words,
You
you
gotta
won't
don't
touch
get
my
that
mushroom and
twisted.
pineapple pizza.
No, absolutely
Mushroom
not.
and pineapple pizza
And
is delicious.
not and we're not gonna like meet in the middle and do like a meat lovers with mushroom too. No.
No, it's
Mushrooms on
supreme
supreme
only.
pizza. That's the way it works. I also
That
miss supreme pizza now that we're talking about it. But so this place has, I mean, like just fantastic Bavarian pork knuckle and roasted potatoes. Like delicious,
I'm gonna pause you
delicious
for a
food.
I'm gonna pause you for a second. As somebody who grew up in Arkansas with you, I was shocked to find out that schnitzel is essentially fried pork chops. Not
In
exactly
a
the
lot of
same.
ways.
I don't want to offend any European German people by saying that, but like it's the same, man. It's the same process. And
Well,
I put
Bavarian pork
mushrooms lately.
knuckle. If we're going to start like drawing lines across, like we're preschoolers, like matching up the similar items here. If we're gonna do
Yeah.
that, Bavarian pork knuckle, burnt ends,
Oh, that makes
burnt
perfect.
ends. So yeah, we're gonna start doing this. We're gonna start
Let's
explaining
see.
things this way. Okay, now
Only certain ways
for
to cut
my
up.
favorite. Well, all cultures have, like every culture has a ravioli.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it's a samosa, an
Or empanada.
empanada, a ravioli, a goiza, like
Arepas.
arepa, all these things, okay? So, but then we get to my favorite German food. I don't even know that I'm ever, and of course they have the spatula, which is the like eggy noodles that are like soft noodles, and then you can get queso spatula, which is like mac and cheese
What?
deliciousness.
Isn't that what your daughter ate for like the first 3 days you were there?
Homegirl loves her some spatula.
That's what I thought. It was
Um,
one of the first words
loves some
I ever heard her say
spatula.
in German was like Spatzla.
She actually called it Spatzel because I wasn't pronouncing it right. And then when I took her to the pediatrician asked her if she liked any German food, and she said Spatzel. And he goes, "It's Spatzla." And I was like, "Thank you for teaching my 1-year-old that. I will also say it right
Speak.
now."
Yeah, I remember you
Um,
right, but also you don't really expect 1-year-olds to say things correctly in general. So, I mean,
no,
like,
you
we
know,
still never figured out where Gabagi came from, so
my favorite German food of all time, though, Kaiserschmarren.
okay, explain what Kaiserschmarren is, because
It's a fluffy pancake that has been chopped into bite-sized pieces and thrown back in a pan with dried fruit and nuts and had sugar and or jelly put on top of it.
so it's like monkey bread,
No,
but with, like, fruitcake vibes is what
it's
I'm hearing.
not sticky
It's not sticky?
and it's
Oh,
not
really?
cakey. It's like a pancake fresh from the skillet with like a crispy crust on the outside
Oh, okay.
with like fresh fruits or dried fruits and then crunchy nuts in like a mound on your plate, almost like a French toast stick situation, um, with either powdered
I'm
sugar
gonna
or vanilla
post
cream
this photo,
sauce
and
or
we're
some
gonna link
jelly
it
on top.
under the podcast. I need a photo.
Yes.
We're gonna link it under
Kaiserschmarren. I'm
because
gonna learn how to make it
I
because
am not picturing it properly. Is it like Bananas Foster? Maybe.
I don't know what bananas foster is.
I just know that it has to do with pancakes and fruit. Oh,
The fruit is non-material in this situation.
yeah.
It's
Oh
the
well, the fruit
fluffiness
feels
and the
very important.
crispiness of the pancake situation.
Okay, I understand.
Deliciousness. I have gone so far as to just
I see.
order Kaiserschmarren from this restaurant and not order any food, just Kaiserschmarren. And then I recently went out with a group of spouses from the military base. And when we got to the restaurant, I was looking at how expensive the menu was. And I was like, I just really don't want schnitzel. And I don't really want any like German food just kind of hits your stomach like, oh,
Yeah, it's
like
pretty
it's
hearty.
there. They don't eat a lot of vegetables. It's just like really heavy because
Yeah,
I'm a veggie girl. I like my veggies. I like lighter foods.
yeah.
Like I like some lighter foods.
You're a salad and a
They
Sammy kind of girl.
it's all there, like it's all there in your stomach. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just pay for half a meal instead. I'm just gonna get a glass of wine and a plate full of Kaiserschmarren, which is off the
What?
dessert menu, which is half as expensive as an entree.
Yeah.
So when I ordered,
See
the
the pride.
waiter was really worried about my German in that moment because he was like, that's a sweet. And I was like, I know. And
Don't
the
judge me,
wine
sir.
is a dry. And so together it's perfect.
And he was probably like, "No, no, not perfect. You need something to soak that up, please, ma'am."
When he brought it to me, he was like giggling. He was like, she's just eating dessert. This crazy American eating dessert. Uh,
Totally. I
I'm,
love that.
but I don't care. I don't care because it's amazing. Okay, it's
Girl
amazing.
dinner. Girl dinner.
Girl dinner. And then like everybody at the table like looked at me and I was like, what? This is what I
Why are you
wanted.
all judging me?
And
I can
then
make my
somebody
own
was
dinner
like,
at home. I can't
somebody
make
was like, I didn't even know we were getting desserts. And I was like, I'm not getting dessert. This is dinner. It's a
dinner.
pancake with fruit and nuts.
Those people
It's
have all been in
fine.
Germany too long. Send them
It's
back for retraining.
it's Brenner at this point. Just having
Uh,
breakfast for dinner. Pancakes. It's fine. I love pancakes. Pancakes are great. So anyway, delicious. I'm probably hyping it up so much so that you'll have to like try a couple places when you come to Germany to make sure that
I
you get
can't.
the feel.
I also can't have like nuts, so it's probably going to be like a really sweet situation for me because I'm probably going to be like only certain types of things because I can't have the nuts, which it feels like those are probably
That
important.
might
You're
be
eating it
that
only as
might
a
be a
meal.
problem when you visit. I might have to figure out a recipe before then because that's the thing is we've been told before that like people with food allergies struggle a lot in Germany because one, there's the communication barrier if you don't speak good enough German to explain that you don't just want your nuts picked out.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole
Well,
thing.
we
Um,
also our family is going to have to navigate that anyways because we got some gluten freeze. So
yeah,
it's the land of bread. Like there's
it is
another
the land of bread.
can't go to
That's
Italy
another
either.
thing that I love, love, love is it's the land of bread. It's amazing. Um,
Bread and
I
beer.
one thing that bothers me, although we're not talking about that, we're talking about favorite things. But one thing that bothers me is that a lot of, unlike Italy, where you walk down the road and you just like, in France, where you just like walk down the road and you just like smell the bakery and you're like, oh, there's a bakery up there. It smells so delicious. In Germany, a lot, at least where we are, a lot of the bread is baked elsewhere and then brought to the bakeries so that they're more conveniently
Ooh.
located. So they're smaller, like smaller buildings, smaller store things, so they don't have to have a kitchen in the back. And so the baker doesn't smell like the bakery until you go all the way inside, and it's sad. But
That.
um,
I like it, but I see where like again, I said we weren't going to talk about France, but like you've been in French bakeries where like you walk
mhm,
in and you
mhm.
smell the croissant.
No, you like across the street and you can smell it. It's
Yeah, so I
delicious.
can see why it's a little different. So okay, we're trying to get through this list. So
So anyway, food amazing, breads, uh, Kaiserschmarrens. schnitzel, mostly mushrooms and
Is there
tomatoes,
anything that you make at
thebomb.com.
home? Like, is there any, and it doesn't have to be like a specifically German meal, but like, hey,
My
it's different here or like whatever.
Well, we do. So the way we cook is different because we have an umlaut oven, which is umlaut means circulating air. So it's
Like
like a
a
fan
convection oven
oven.
only? Okay.
Um, and so it's like an air fryer, but it's our oven.
Yeah, so it's like a convection oven, but like probably with better seals. So it probably cooks more
And
evenly than mine.
it has like 8 different settings on it.
Oh.
And so you can do like baking with umlaut, you can do like all these things. And so if I have to cook it in the oven, which I do most things because I don't have an instant pot anymore or anything like that, um, it just turns
Sad.
out really well. And
Yeah.
so
I like that.
we're learning.
I did use our convection oven to make dinner a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wow, this is way more evenly cooked. So
Oh yeah.
it's way better. They're
Oh
onto
yeah.
something.
So
Okay, so
huge fan of that.
let's talk about experiences. Like, I know that you have traveled, but outside of traveling, you guys go to a million different parks. Like, I swear I've never seen the same park twice.
We have not.
Do you
I
think
mean, we
there
have seen the
are
same park twice, but yeah, it's just like a very walkable community, and that has been huge for us, being able to like walk a little bit and then hop on a bus and go a little bit, and that has been really, really a big change for us in the positive. There are playgrounds literally everywhere, Spielplatz everywhere, which is
and are you
absolutely
pronouncing that
amazing
correctly?
for
Spielpats?
I don't know. Don't question me on these
Ask
things. I
your
just go with
tutor.
it.
I need her feedback.
It's probably
Spielplatz.
Spielplatz.
Okay.
We'll find out. If I start pronouncing it different, just mind your business.
Just mind your business.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a
So
learning work in
a
progress
little
here.
that speaks a little
But
to like one of my other questions, which is like the culture. And like I know like having a walkable culture, having a community. I mean, you guys were in the burbs. Like you had to get in your car and drive 10 minutes to get anywhere. Um
yeah,
and I mean that's probably true for most Americans, I would say, and outside of like New York, which is like traditionally not a driving town.
yeah.
Um so like with public transportation, with it being walkable, I mean, at one point your husband was taking his bike to work.
And
Um
will, when the weather gets a little bit better,
and
he'll
yeah,
go
when
back to that.
it
And
was
actually, we'll
outside.
start once my daughter starts at the German school. Our plan right now is to bike with her to her classes through the summer.
Oh, that'll be so much fun.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that'll
Um,
be a blast.
she seems pretty
So
excited.
I we're gonna we will probably put a pin in the conversation around the difference in parenting culture because I do want to give enough time to that and I don't think we're going to have enough time today. So I want to like focus on like your favorites and like experiences and things like that. But we are going to put a little note because I think that you have shared with me really interesting things about the European and German thoughts around parenting. You see all those articles all the time of I'm an American living in Paris and parenting's completely different here. I'm an American living in Switzerland and parenting's completely different here. So I think it would be really fun for us
Well,
to have
even
an
like
episode devoted to
the
that.
Eingewöhnung that they're doing at her school, which I probably butchered that word, but Eingewöhnung, maybe the like settling in time for her
Oh yeah,
school
the
where I'll be
process.
going for several weeks with her. Like we should totally talk about that in a future
Yeah, we'll talk
episode
about
because
that.
that's going to be my life.
Yeah, because I'm really excited and I want to talk about it before you do it and then after how you felt about it because I think those are going to be really good things. I think that the culture that you've shared with me, even working on the American side of things in Germany, there is kind of this good understanding of like, hey, sorry, this has to happen. Like you had to have the really fun experience of like couldn't get to daycare. There was a road that was shut down. So
Yeah,
I have a coworker who's small for an hour or two and then I'll take her. And like in America, like I hate to say it, but there's definitely people who get fired for those things. I mean, there's definitely bosses
there's a
who understand much more.
understanding there's an understanding just in general that like things are the way that they are and what are you going to do about it kind of um kind of vibes, especially like even with like the snow and snowy roads, with road closures,
Yeah.
bus
You guys,
strikes.
would it
Like
be
you still have
correct
a
to
sense of
say that your experience is more communal and less individual responsibility? Like, yes, everyone is responsible for their own actions and autonomy, but like in America, like if your driveway is iced in, but someone else can get to work, it's your fault for living in that house
right.
with that driveway. Like, I mean, that's a very
Well,
real thing. And
that's
so, like,
very hard for me to speak to because I do work for the Americans.
that's
And so there that varies significantly across policies that are outside of even my direct reports control. Like my supervisor doesn't make the call about whether or not we're coming in when there's snow or ice, like that's just not the case. Now I will say one thing I have experienced that I have talked to our German doctor about, that I have had mentioned to me by several of our German neighbors, is the um, community responsibility for the upbringing of children.
which is fascinating because
Yeah, not only like her safety, but also like, are people setting a good example for her? Are other children setting a good example for her? Did someone cross the street before the green man came up on the crosswalk? Because they will get judged because a child was just taught that they could cross the street on the red at that time. Like, and sometimes they'll get yelled at for it. Like Germans don't jaywalk because a child could be watching.
Germans don't jaywalk. Title of the
It's
episode.
it's
Um, but no,
real.
I get that, and I really do, and we are like, I want to hear so much more about that, especially as you continue to grow and know more parents there, because I've been so impressed by just some of the, I guess, community aspects. Like you said, like you're taught to pay attention to there are children around you. Like in America, you're like, hey, there's a child who owns this. Like, get it out of my way.
Yeah,
And in
like
Germany, it seems like your experience has been like, hey, there's a child. I am now responsible for making sure that that child is alive until its person comes and gets it. Like,
or even
totally different place.
like there is a mother who is also trying to get in her car and there is a child, and I can help watch to make sure that the child stays close while the mother's getting into the car. Like it's just that kind of
Oh,
thing.
I
There's
love
also the German staring thing, which we should talk about sometime.
that. Yeah.
Um
A whole
because
episode of German
that's going to
staring.
be that's going to be an interesting thing that I'm pretty sure my toddler's going to bring home. Like she's going to just stare.
I hate to break
Um
it to you, but your toddler is the most German child I've ever met, because I've never met any German children. So,
oh,
I
okay.
mean, she was already going to win that, but she does really match some of the stereotypes of like just in general, like she's
She is
so
unapologetically herself, and that is
unapologetic
a
was the exact
very,
term I was going to use.
very specifically like, and
Yeah, she's
Germans
like,
don't
they don't apologize for
tend
them.
to. I mean, they apologize for a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. Like as a culture, there's entire wars that they are that they apologize for regularly. Um,
Well, and I mean that in the way of like, it's not just about being polite because people might judge you for not being polite. It seems like there's a general understanding of like, it is your responsibility to be polite in society because you are in society and thus you will be polite.
I
Kind
think
of.
it's a lot like the conversations you'll hear online about people comparing kind versus nice.
Ah, yes, I
Um,
love that conversation.
because Germans aren't necessarily the nicest people you meet, but they are exceedingly kind.
I love that. I love
Um,
that way.
and I feel a lot of gratitude for the kindness that our German neighbors have shown us, for the um, the waitresses who have helped us navigate menus that we can't read, for the grocery store cashier who goes back to get the sticker for my bananas because I forgot
Oh no,
again. Like
banana
that
stickers.
that just exceedingly kind, especially because I come from the South where like, oh, I'm sorry, English is your second language. Get out of my country. Like those kinds of
Yeah.
vibes.
Well, and even
And
then we're like,
here,
bless your heart politeness is not true kindness. Like, you can be polite to someone without being kind to them, and that's harsh. We're gonna I don't want to keep you too long. I know that it is exceedingly late there. And it's getting on dinner time for us. But real quick, rapid fire. I want you to tell me your favorite thing about living in Germany for each member of your family. So your favorite thing for living in Germany, or favorite thing about living in Germany for your kid, for yourself, for your husband. If you want to include your dog in there, I totally support that plan. He may not have a very different existence, but what do you think those are?
the best thing about living in Germany for my child is the exposure to a new language, and I think the opportunity that it provides to have both of her parents home with her more regularly.
Yeah.
Um, because I do think that's something that is a little bit unique about our situation, even just here versus in America. But just like the research shows that learning a second language at her age just provides such an elasticity impact in her brain.
Yeah.
I also think that there's something honorable about having like a tie to a culture that is not the culture you were born into.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
hope that that sparks a passion in her to kind of
yeah.
continue
I
learning
feel like
about
it's a
other
really
cultures.
beautiful parallel for your daughter because your husband was very young in a different country in Europe, because of military experience in his family, and I think that like it automatically, like you said, it ties you to something outside the American experience. You automatically have reason to care about other things,
Well,
and
and
it matters.
that's easily the biggest like the biggest positive experience for me is it's so easy, I think, especially when you have a young child, to allow your world to get really small, to kind of focus on surviving through everything.
Very
And I sit at work next to someone who was not even born in Germany, born in a completely different country, and then immigrated to Germany and is one of our local German citizens that works with us and partners with us um, at the base. And so it's like I do have the opportunity to learn about vastly different cultures. I do have the opportunity to learn a new language as an adult and the motivation to do it because it literally makes my life so much easier if I can do it. And so it's like,
I like that.
it's one of those things where like I get to say that I started my 30s in an incredibly challenging way. And so I'm not just growing older, I'm also growing in a lot of different ways. I'm
Yeah.
not just growing in motherhood, but I'm growing in myself too. And so that has been like an unexpected win for me is like I'm very proud of myself and how I've handled the last few months.
As you
And
should be.
that means a lot coming from somebody who this time last year had taken a leave of absence from her job because she was so depressed,
Yeah. I would say
And so
I think it's definitely easy to see from the outside that your whole family is kind of learning, and that was kind of my other question. You didn't include your husband. Do you feel like he has a favorite part of
I mean, this job is an incredible experience for him.
Okay.
And so I think right now we're probably going to go job, and he would probably say the opportunity to travel too is huge for him because
Yeah.
he's our trip planner. He's our um like he's our travel agent, and so being able to not have to put like months and months and months worth of planning and saving and everything into some of these trips also makes it more fun for him, I think, because
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
it's not as much pressure because you can go back. You can do what you need
Yeah.
to. You can drive there. You can whatever, like you don't have to spend 2 weeks there because it don't have to make an international flight worth it. Like
Yeah.
we get to experience the world in different ways, and I think that that proximity is not something to be overlooked. I mean, it's literally what some people advertise over here, like some of the contractors and stuff advertise. They're like, have Europe at your doorstep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, it's so much closer. I mean, when you live in America and that America is your primary experience, you can drive for an entire day or 2 days and stay in the same state. Like, it's
Right? In a
it's
couple
really
weeks, we'll just
it.
drive to Austria.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very different. To end on, because I know that you've only been there for 6 months, and these things may change, and whatever. We're gonna follow back up with you about it, of course, but for your whole family, what has this experience been like? What would you say that your favorite thing is? And I asked that question from my own kind of perspective of going and staying on military bases during my husband's military training. And like,
Mhm.
I do believe that those were very wonderful in the opportunity that it gave me as a parent and our kids as children to kind of learn some cognitive flexibility and have an adventure, but also just like prioritize our family over like quote unquote normalcy. Um, and I really felt like that changed our family culture in a really good way. And I wondered if you have had any similar experiences.
I mean, it has been super, super bonding because we are each other's familiar.
Yeah.
Like there's entire days where like if I'm running errands and stuff, like the only time I get to really speak English with somebody who's like fluent because my daughter doesn't count.
Yeah.
Um, is
Children
like
do not count.
when my husband gets home from work and I get done running errands that day and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, do you want to talk about Survivor or something very American? That'd be great. Thanks." Um,
I like that.
but I also think that the act of moving and downsizing our lives has been significant
I didn't even think
for
about
our
that, but you're
family.
right. Like, you
But I
really
mean,
have to make
we
choices.
sold about a third of our stuff, stored about a third of our stuff, and then we have about a third of our stuff here. And so for my daughter, wasn't a huge impact because, children outgrow toys and clothes and stuff all the time anyway. So we
Yeah.
kind of just like moved some stuff out and moved some new stuff in, like we've picked
Yeah.
up here. But for my husband and I, we like have had to force some square pegs into round holes trying to make things that we felt like we couldn't get rid of fit
Well, and almost an
here. And
entire decade together, you've accumulated not only your individual things, but I mean, like, this was
yeah.
our first set of towels we bought as a married
Well, and
couple, like
admittedly,
those
we
things.
didn't do a great job of getting rid of stuff because I think we were so scared about the move that we were like, what if we get over there, we regret this? Or what if
Yeah.
something happens and the cost of living is higher than we've been told and we can't afford to replace it or what? So we brought stuff that now seems unnecessary. And we have gone through more purging even as we got here. And so I think it's shifted our relationship with our stuff because nothing makes your stuff seem insignificant like it being inconvenient. You move to a house
That's
where they don't
very
believe in
real.
closets and you can't just stuff it in a closet and you're just like, you know what? I
It's
didn't even
gotta
like it
go.
that much in the first place. Um, and
That's
so,
very true.
like downsizing, becoming it's not replaceable. I mean, a lot of things are not super replaceable. Like I broke one of my husband's favorite coffee cups the other day and I
Aw,
can't really replace it. And so now he's got
yeah.
just one left and I thought it was going to be a bigger deal and I was going to start looking for it and he was like, "That's fine. I'll pick up something down the street or I'll replace it and it'll be my new Germany coffee cup." Like
Yeah.
I think we've just let go of so much in the last 6 months, almost a year at this point. We're coming up in about a month to the anniversary of finding out that this might even be like the first
I was about to
conversations
say,
even
yeah, like
started to
your
happen.
inceptions of it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's not really fair to say 6 months, that's when we first started letting go, because, I mean, we started moving before that. So, like, 9 months, maybe
Yeah.
realistically. Um, and that process of letting go over the course of 9 months has made me just like, I don't know, I double check about some things. I were, like, "Oh, I don't know about that." Like, it's gonna be interesting to kind of see, like, how that plays out through the summer when even, like, clothing-wise, like, you don't need as much because it's hot. Like,
Yeah,
just kind of
that's true.
just shifting our lives has been good, I think, for our naturally, like, materialistic selves raised in a
Yeah,
world of
capitalism.
capitalism. Right?
Um, to end on a light note, what do you miss most about America?
Oh
And,
my
like,
gosh.
I don't want to just guess that it's Target, but I feel like it might be Target.
Based
So,
on the
what do you
number of
think?
Target packages that arrive at your house, and then I ask you to
Mm,
stuff them in a box and mail them to
by the
me?
way, I do need you to potentially put, like, a middle initial, like, when you do my name on the mailing thing, like, put, like, a middle initial that's, like, your initial, because, my husband does think those are my packages.
Well, he
And
can just
I
get
need
over it. It's called
plausible
treat
deniability.
yourself.
I
It's called
need
treat you
plausible
can just open it and
deniability.
show it to him and be like, "Would I ever wear this color pink?" "No,
I
I
do.
wouldn't."
I do, but then he's, like, opening your packages, and he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's for
That's
my
so
sister."
funny. Okay, so
He has mailed
realistically,
packages, you can ask
like,
Roy. It's
from
issues.
the grand scheme of things, obviously, we miss our community. Like,
Yeah.
that's a big, big one. I had some amazing friends. I still have them. They're not gone. I'm the one who moved
Me too.
away. Um, but just the convenience of our village being so close, obviously, like, that's a huge loss. Miss that regularly. I also really miss Target and walking around an air-conditioned store.
Air
Um,
conditioning, I'm
I
sure, is gonna
really,
be
really,
really
really,
moving up
really,
the list.
really, 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 really miss sitting at a Mexican restaurant with chips and salsa and cheese dip, because those things don't exist here.
Yeah, I
Like,
can't
we don't
imagine
have
Mexican
Mexican
restaurants.
restaurants. They don't have them. You can't imagine them because they don't exist. They don't even have bad ones that could be improved upon. They don't exist. Okay? We don't have the opportunity to get a bad burrito or some stale chips. It's just not a thing. They don't exist. And then also, I feel like we've talked about this before on the podcast, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I miss Buffalo Wild Wings. I got
Oh,
addicted to Buffalo Wild Wings when I was pregnant. It was the only chicken I could keep down. Garlic parmesan, mild buffalo sauce, garlic. Why have I mean, I've been gone so long I forgot. Spicy garlic. That's what it's called. Spicy garlic.
yeah, spicy
Those
garlic's the
those
best
are
place. So half
those are my
half
three
garlic parmesan,
sauces.
half mild, that's where you live your life. I'll bring you some. Like, I'll have to ask customs about it, but I'll bring you some.
I um when my mother-in-law and father-in-law were coming over for their visit, my mother-in-law was like, "Okay, last chance. Like, we leave in like 48 hours. Last chance for you to add anything to the list, like anything that you want." And I was like, "How long is your flight?" And she was like, 8 hours. And I was like, "How good is your best, like, Stanley Cup Yeti
Oh,
stainless
no.
steel tumbler?" And she was like, "Why?" And I was like, "If you go to Chewy's and you get, like, creamy
Cheese dip.
jalapeno dip, do you think it will make
Oh,
it?" She was
jeez.
like, "I'm willing to try." And my husband's like, "No, we're not starting their visit with food poisoning. Besides, what would you even put it on?"
Yep, don't have any tortilla chips, man. You're lost.
I do if I go to the
Yeah.
army base.
I mean, but I'll figure out a way to get you some wing sauce. I drove an hour there and back yesterday to get my husband his favorite sauce because they closed our store. So I was like, "I'm
Oh my
going. It's
gosh.
happening." So
But, like, it's those kinds of things where
important.
it's like, you feel silly being like, "I miss Target and I miss," but those are the, like, if you
Well,
dig too deep into what you miss, like, I miss
yeah.
the way the sun came on and on the front porch of the house that we've sold to move here. Like, yeah,
Yeah. You have
but
to keep it a
also
little.
it would be a little life-giving to walk through a Target with an iced coffee in my hand because none of the drinks here have ice, okay? Like, it would be nice to walk through an air-conditioned, climate-controlled building that's well lit and has room for a stroller because those things don't exist. Those things don't exist here.
Ugh.
And to hold an ice cold drink in my hand? Ideal. A great situation. That I think that would just like, like there's vitamin D for your seasonal depression, and then there's daydreams about walking through Target. And
They both work just as well.
just, maybe a combination of both. Like that's what the doctor ordered.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on 6 months. I feel like it's,
Thank you.
like, I don't know. I feel like it's just a really significant milestone because, like you said, like it is so stinking hard to get through this first little bit. And now it's like you're kind of a little bit more into like a normal life vibe, which
It does
is a
feel
really
like we have moved and not that we are still moving.
valid, very valid. I mean, that's what our family policy is. Like, if we do something new, you have to give it 6 months. Like, if you super still
Okay.
hate it after 6 months, then we'll see what we can do to address it. But we ain't gonna, because we get buyer's remorse real bad in our family. Our family's real committed to buyer's remorse. So,
It's
all right,
just a part of life at this point.
it is.
Well, thank you for giving me the chance to kind of monopolize the situation
No,
today,
I'm very
but
excited to learn that Germans do not jaywalk. It's important. It's important information
Germans
before I
don't
visit.
jaywalk.
But my question
I
is,
cannot think
does
of
the
the
crosswalk
name.
still possess the white man to tell you where to go? Because the white man tells us where to
No,
go here in America.
there's a green man, and he
See,
has a
why
name.
does America have a green man? Why does it have to be a white dude?
It's a red
Just leave.
guy when you can't walk across, and then it's a green guy, and he has a name. But I don't know if his name is like all over Germany or if his name is just like a local regional thing. So I'm not gonna try to
Hilarious.
pronounce it
That's
because
very
of all the Germans listening right now.
well.
Clearly,
I will be very excited to meet your green man, jaywalker, restrictor person because I can't listen to my husband's joke about the white man ever again.
the white man,
Well,
a white
because
man.
as a brown man,
No.
he says, "Oh wait, man, no." As a brown man, he always says, "Oh yes, the white man gave us permission. Thank God." Every time in public around others.
Around others.
So
Well,
green man it is.
you're a great mom.
You are too. I'll see you later. I'm gonna let you go sleep.
I'm gonna learn how to say that in German. It's gonna be great.
Ooh, ask your tutor. Hello, tutor. Please assist.
Please don't listen to my podcast, tutor.
Nope.
You're
Now
gonna
I
hear me
have
mispronounce enough things.
everything.
You don't need
Spiegel,
extra.
Spiegelplatz. Spiegelplatz.
Spiegel.
See, I will
Spielplatz.
mispronounce everything for you. Spielplatz. Is there a G? Spielplatz?
No.
Okay, Spielplatz.
There's no G.
We're working on Spanish in my household. We got
Uh,
learning Spanish over here.
well,
German's real far away.
my husband's still keeping up with his Italian. So if he actually
Oh,
learned
very
German,
proud of
he'll be
him.
trilingual. And
Well,
the other day at daycare,
that's great.
they asked me how many language my daughter could count in, and I was like, she can count to 10 in English, German, French, and Italian. And they were like, why? And I was like, because I can count to 10 in English, German, and French, and my husband can count to 10 in Italian, and she
Well,
likes to
we
count, and we get
are
tired of doing it in one language.
I was about to say we are counting. My son counted to 100 today. With his little
Whoa.
he was clicking on the thing. He's very obsessed with 40, 50, 60, and 70 right now. So we've just started printing it out. So he has a whole chart of 1 through 100. And so he loves to do that. And so then we're going to go back and learn them in Spanish at some point soon. And we'll just video call you guys in so we can add a fifth language, just really round out your daughter's
Yeah.
understanding
The
of counting to 10.
I should have mentioned this earlier, but the German tutor, I'm not going to say it here, but the German tutor specifically said that at the end of each lesson, she will ask, like, if there's any phrase that we could learn that would make our lives easier. And I have to call the pediatrician and make an appointment about my daughter's new school. She just has to get like the standard check. And I was like, yeah, I have no idea how to say her birthday.
Valid. I didn't even think about that.
And I'll call you later and tell you about it because
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
insane. It's
All
insane.
right. Well, you're a
But
good mom and a
you're a
good
good mom.
German student, maybe. Well, we'll go with that.
Talk to you
Bye.
later.
No, Mom.